Security setting. I don't know how to do that. चलो कोई बात नहीं. That's okay. So, so now the first question, which is very important, is that what are my beliefs and practices that make me happy? Since some people are yet to join, I will start with mine. So, what is my belief, which I think is responsible for keeping me happy? The first is that I believe that this world is governed by extremely good forces, and therefore I trust this universal intelligence which is behind the universe. This universe is a beautiful place if you look at materially. You look at the sun, the stars, the galaxies. They are all governed by certain immutable physical laws. Uh, for instance, the one thing that I continue to marvel is that the sun is millions of miles away and still produces the heat and light through which this uh, energy comes to this earth, and the chlorophyll phenomena and photosynthesis happens, the energy is built, and that causes the entire earth to survive. So it's such a fantastic, and the sun keeps on rotating, the earth keeps on rotating around the sun, and the sun keeps on rotating around some other galaxies, along with some galaxies, in such a fine balance. So there has to be some universal intelligence. Look at how from just two cells, a human being, I was born, and how I grew up into such a complex biological phenomena. So I trust that universal intelligence, and even in my behavioral science profession, I see that this beautiful intelligence is operational behind behavioral processes also. And so that is how my firm belief is about the extreme goodness, extreme intelligence of the universal intelligence which is behind this show. So, if people who have joined, they can just type in whatever in YouTube. It's easier to type in here, and I will keep taking your this thing. So, or even in, if you are in Zoom, you can just or write your comments wherever you are. Please keep writing your comments along with. So I'm asking you to answer two questions. So first, as I said, what is the belief and practices that make me happy? And the second is, what are the uh, mm, uh, what are the coping mechanism and strategies I use to deal with the sorrow and suffering and so I was answering the first question, which is that my belief that this world is governed by extremely intelligent, extremely compassionate, extremely wise intelligence. So that is my belief. So I'm always optimistic. So whatever happens to me, I even if it is painful, even if I interpret it as failure, even if I interpret it as bad, I still at the back of my mind believe that that intelligence knows best, and that makes me feel at ease. And also simultaneously there is a sense of gratefulness for whatever all happening, and also sense of wonder at the entire world. So this is the belief which is primarily important for me. First one. The second belief, which to me is not actually a belief, which is actually a truth, but let me put it in the category of belief. The second belief is that whatever is happening to me at present, at this moment of life, and whatever has happened to me in the past, I am fully responsible for it. The reason why I believe, it is fortunate that I am responsible for it, because if I am responsible for what is happening to me, then I have the power to make a change. So if I don't like it, I can stop it. If I like it, I can increase it. So this has a extreme importance. And also, if some of you are aware, there is an extremely valuable insights I have shared, which is called the Pradeep cycle of suffering and Pradeep cycle spiral of liberation, which is based on how much responsibility I take for what happens to me. This is a subject in itself for a webinar. I won't go into detail, but my second belief is that I am responsible for whatever happens to me. Uh, Hello, Sian. Nice to see you on the Zoom. Good to see you here. Okay, and third belief I have is, um, you know, for living happily, I think the most important understanding that humans need to have is the feelings. Uh, I often say, if you know feelings, you know life. If you don't know feelings, the no feelings, then there is no life. And so, this word, feelings are the fuel which govern and drive this life. So, deeper understanding of feeling is extremely helpful for living a happier life, or a peaceful life. So, when I say happier life, I actually mean more of a peaceful life. So, second so this is the third belief I have. And the fourth belief is that life demands discipline. This dilemma of short term gain, long term pain, and short term pain, long term gain is prevalent all over. So I believe that this one dilemma everyone has to deal with. Nobody in this entire earth, no living being is free from this dilemma presented by life again and again, which is that it keeps on tempting us with short term pain, pleasure, and in the long term it gives. For example, we take alcohol, we may enjoy in the short term, but the long term we have, hangovers or other problems. Food, and moreover, other all the tasty, delicious, fatty foods are responsible for this phenomena, and make us fat, unhealthy, etc. Similarly, for education, academic career, also, if you look at it, the short term. We keep telling the children that, okay, you study now and you will enjoy later and stuff like that. Well, the most important thing is all the psychological defense mechanisms of getting into comfort zone easily using defense mechanism in the short term are very comfortable, but in the long term are very painful. So this dilemma of life is always there, and therefore this is the and to control this is required is a discipline. Therefore, my belief is the fourth belief that I'm talking about is that self discipline is an extremely important, choosing not short term comfort or pleasure, which can be in the long term harmful. That is my fourth belief. So, you need to have a discipline. And the fifth belief that I have is that. Desires. We have to be very careful about what we desire, because it is the desire to fulfill the desires we are spending all our energy. So, if the wiser we grow, the better desires we choose. Therefore, personally, I am of that category which believes that contentment leads to happiness. and gratefulness, understanding of life, simplifying life. All this requires abandonment of desires. Therefore, here it is the sense of vivek and vairagya. So I think one has to be very careful what kind of desires one has and what kind of desires one pursues. So this is my fifth belief about happiness, and my sixth belief that is about happiness is that one has to be constantly learning. This word seems to me like a school for life. You know, the life is constantly sending us educational messages to learn, and but very few of us are able to learn, and we keep repeating the same mistakes because to learn is a very high level of skills from experiences. You know, from the same experience, some people learn a lot, some people learn very little. So, in that sense, learning is a topic in itself, which will take some days. That what makes us learn more from experiences, but learning. So that also learning also requires discipline, responsibility, managing feelings. So all these beliefs are interconnected, and none of if you miss one, you probably miss. You cannot have the other. Those kind of relationships these beliefs are. So so these are primarily six, seven beliefs I believe that, and the other important belief is that we all have this child part in us, this adult part in us, and this social part in us. Now we have to have a balance so that the child part is able to express itself and have its natural spontaneity, where even an old person will have this part. So to help it blossom and have a very good ability to think and have which we call as combining adult in technical terms of transaction analysis, so that is required, and also to clean the social self that we have, the parent part, which is there inside us, which we acquire during socialization, that has to be cleaned in. So that is my seventh belief. And my eighth belief is that meditation and learning from, great character people is very important. So meditation is a kind of introspective learning. It's not just concentration. It is understanding the mind and being watchful all the time. So mindfulness is very helpful in that. And along with that, is in the same tone, I would say that associating with very wise and high character people is also very, very important. And because we learn from modeling, and when we associate with ethical people, people who are learning, people who are sensitive in the feelings, people who are not selfish, so so those kind of people we just learn from modeling and helps us to grow as a person. Then my other 10th belief would be that we serve our interest best when we serve others. The selfishness, the ego behind the selfishness, so that is the cause of suffering. Life is very paradoxical, so our interest is served best when we serve others. So this is my another belief. And last and most important for this being, there are many other more, but I will give only the salient one. The 10th one is that ego. We have to understand our ego. It has a lot of functions, and it has a lot of it is an essential for survival. But the bigger the ego, the bigger the sorrow, the bigger the fights, the bigger the desires, the bigger the conflicts, and bigger the suffering. So, living a humble life is much more valuable in terms of peace and happiness than bigger egos. So, when you are grateful, when you are humble, when you are learning, there's a high probability you will be a humble human being. So, this is the 10th belief I'm sharing, that this is how I believe. And then the question arises, what makes us leave ego? How the ego is dropped, how one becomes humble. Who will make one humble? And if I say I'm very humble, this itself is an egoistic statement. Well, when ego gives so much suffering, why don't people, just let go? If something gives you pain in life, you try to get rid of them. You just let them go. But what about ego? Why we are not able to, let go of ego? Well, because ego is also source of a lot of happiness. Most of our happiness also comes from ego. It's a coin. It gives us happiness. It gives us suffering. That is why we are not able to quit. But when you acquire this ability to see, when you have this uh, quality of what you call vivek, and when your perception is very clear, you're able to see that it is the cause of immense suffering. It drops itself. You don't have to drop it. So this capacity to see, which you develop as you grow and learn, is very, very valuable capacity, and that will help, and it will help the ego to drop itself. So so these are my beliefs about, and practices also. This mindfulness practice is very helpful. Learning is very helpful. The introspection is very helpful. Associating practices. So this is the beliefs and practices that I would say I have, which help me, which I believe are responsible for happiness. Then the second part, which is the more important part, is that what is it? What are my coping strategies for dealing with emotional pain and suffering? Well, I have this saying that when you are happy, enjoy it. When you suffer failures, setbacks, frustrations, they are the learning opportunities. So life is good both ways. When it is painful, it is trying to give you some lessons and learn those lessons. And when it is happy, you enjoy it. So life is good both ways. There's nothing to worry, nothing to feel bad about it. But it is easier said than done. So whenever the pain, emotional loss, the hurt, the jealousy, the inadequacy, the failure, the frustration, sadness comes, it's not easy to manage. Well, this is the skill. That's why I said, in my belief, the deeper understanding of feeling is very important. And feelings arise from our beliefs, our expectations, our values. And therefore, when we understand this, then we can change our beliefs, values, expectations, and stuff, attitudes, like that. And it will help us to deal with those feelings in a more meaningful way. Well, there's an entire field of defense mechanism that human beings use, maybe 20, 30 defense mechanisms there, which help us to escape from pain in the short term, but in the long term, we have to confront them. So this part is very, I would say, it's not easy. It requires a higher level of skill to confront our feelings and deal with them functionally, take responsibility for them, and learn from the mistakes that those feelings are giving us a message. So these feelings, it is so my basic assumption and basic understanding, I would say, basic reality that I believe in or I know of, is that it is possible to live a very peaceful, happy, satisfying, creative life if you follow certain principles which I have shared in my beliefs and practices. And one of them is dealing with feelings uh, without being defensive about them, uh, especially the painful feeling. The good feelings are okay, easy to deal with, but what about inadequacy? What about frustration? What about so called failure? What about jealousy? What about regret? What about vulnerability? What about our emotional blocks? What about a sense of inferiority? So all those lack of confidence, all these feelings make us feel miserable. So, but all of them have some message to tell us. So we have to process those feelings. That would be a topic of my webinar separately. So it's a big subject in itself. So confronting them, and what I call the Pradeep cycle of liberation, spiral of liberation, is part of that. So I would like to talk about it in a separate way. So it's already about 24, 25 minutes. I don't want to take it longer. And I'm not seeing any comments. I know the notice was short, so not many people perhaps are joining it. But I will share the recording, and you can please keep adding. This is a very valuable and important topic for me, and I believe others, because this is a prime mover. Everyone wants to be happy and avoid suffering. So, anyone would like to say anything? Please, you're welcome. You can write your comments, or you can say on Zoom if you're live on Zoom. It would be nice, and or later when you hear the recording, you can add your comments. So, I plan to have these webinars, once every fortnight, and carry on. It is important for me to record these for because these are certain timeless principles of life which are very, very valuable for me, and I wanted to share to the larger audiences. And I'm glad that I have made a start. I've been thinking of starting it. I've been doing them 2 years ago, and I have restarted it, and I hope to carry on this further. In case you have any comments or statement to make, please do that. Otherwise, we can close it right now. There is a lot more subject. I don't want to load this video with too much on this at the moment. I would like to, close. If there is any comment, I will comment. I don't think there is any comment coming. So thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate you joining us as on YouTube, Facebook, and Zoom. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Bye bye. Facebook पे भी end कर दें.